The self-portrait, a way for us to express the way we see ourselves. The self-portrait has been around for many years. According to Emerson Rose Craig of artstein.co.uk, self-portraits have a long history that tracks back to the ancient Egyptians, ancient Greeks, and Romans. But the idea of self-portraits that we think of today originated in the Middle Ages. The popularity of the self-portrait grew more and more over time, and before long, artists were creating as many of these works of art as they could. The self-portrait was a way to express how a person viewed themselves. Artists would create a piece to depict how they felt at a certain period in time. Take Rembrandt, for example. He created nearly 100 self-portraits. What we get to see with some of his self-portraits, like these two paintings here, is how he saw himself at two different points in his life. The picture on the left shows him as a young man, full of life and merriment, enjoying his new wife. The painting on the right, created around 30 years later, you can see how he's aged. The joy seen on his face in the first image of him is no longer present in the second. The times may have not been good to him, and he shows that in his almost discerning look on his face in the second painting. Self-portraits were also created to not only depict one's own view of themselves, but to commemorate a person specifically. Here's a portrait done of Lewis Evans. It was painted in 1920 and is found in the History of Science Museum. In this painting, you can see him holding what is called a diptych tile. This portrait was created to commemorate Evans and his contribution to the Science Museum. He was the founding benefactor of the History of Science Museum. Over the years, the ability to create a self-portrait and the means to do it evolved. The invention of the camera and the photograph primarily helped to see that occur. The camera itself was first invented in the 5th century BC, but the first photograph was created in 1827 by a Frenchman named Joseph Nicephore-Niépce. With his invention, a new way of self-portraiture was created. Below, you will find a portrait of Edwin Hubble, located directly in the middle of the slide. He was one of the greatest minds in astronomy. He is pictured here with the Hubble Space Telescope. With the invention of the photograph, this image would not be here. Of course, it could have been painted, but that would have taken a much longer time than simply taking a picture with a camera. The invention of the camera helped with better depicting the subject of the image. Before, a self-portrait was an artist's rendering of what they saw with their own eyes. Now, thanks to the advancement in technology, we can better capture a clearer picture of the subject. The camera allows for more accuracy when representing a subject. True artistry is almost lost, however. When it comes to photographs, before, when an artist would create a piece of art, they would have to use a very honed skill to make the image as real as possible. Not to say that there is no skill when taking a photograph, in my opinion. The true artistry, however, in painting is a subject almost lost. One of the big benefits from the invention of the camera is that those self-portraits that are created can be duplicated easily and shared with the masses indefinitely. They can be mass-produced and distributed to anyone who wishes to own that piece of art. I would say that my biggest qualm I have about the camera being invented is what it had led to in society. The self-portrait is almost a thing of the past, and the far past at that. The self-portrait was always meant to be a representation of how we see ourselves, however, it no longer holds that meaning. The generation of today have taken the self-portrait and turned it into what is now called a selfie, a new age self-portrait, if you will. The selfie is a way to show how vain we have become. When someone takes a selfie, they are not thinking about the message they are trying to convey. There is no thought or care put into creating the piece. Instead, it's just a quick picture to show off. Take the image here, for example. Here we have a selfie of two young ladies holding a fake award with the words Selfie Awards above them. Here we can see that the self-portrait had turned into nothing but a gimmick, almost just a show-off. The image is found in a brand new museum that opened up in LA called the Museum of Selfies. When visiting its website and going through its About page, the first line reads, "At the Museum of Selfies in Hollywood, turn your dreams of being an Instagram celebrity or the next Kim Kardashian into reality." As I mentioned, the art of self-portrait has been all but lost. The generation of today look to use this art form as a way to make themselves look popular to the masses. There is no real artistry when it comes to this new form of art. I will say there are still some artists out there who believe in the more traditional form of self-portraits. Cindy Sherman, for example, is one of those artists. Sherman is quoted as saying, "I am trying to make other people recognize something of themselves rather than me." She often uses her own image in the pieces she creates. The artist bio on thebroad.org partially reads, "At the heart of Sherman's work is the multitude of identity stereotypes that have arisen throughout both the history of art and the history of advertising, cinema, and media." Sherman reveals and dismantles these stereotypes, as well as the mechanics of their production in creating series after series of photographs that focus on particular image-making procedures. She is using the artistry of self-portrait to more accurately portray women of the past, demasculinizing the original way they were created to make them more feminine. The art form formerly known as the self-portrait is a form we need to get back to. With the generation of today being fully engulfed in technology, it will be very hard for that to occur, especially since everyone is more obsessed with being seemingly popular instead of talented. As time moves on, I hope the de-evolution of the self-portrait ceases and we are able to get back to its main roots for expression. Thank you.